Welcome to the channel. I suggest getting ready for bed, listening to my wonderful voice and another story. This time the story is about a stream of treasure hunters, but many of them did not return. Terrible surprises happened to them. Over the deserts of Arizona stretches a chain of rocky ridges, which the local Apache Indians had long avoided. Even when caravans of white settlers were laying new trails, and gold prospectors dug the earth in search of riches, these mountains remained a special place. They were called by many names: the Cursed Rocks, the Mountain of Spirits, the place where the footsteps of the dead can be heard. But the name that stayed forever was simple: Superstition Mountain. It towered over the desert like a dark guardian, surrounded by an aura that could not be explained in words. At sunset, the rocks changed color, from red to black, and each time it seemed like a sign, a warning. Long before the arrival of the Spaniards, the Apache believed that deep in the heart of the mountain lay an entrance to another world. It was a passage to the underground halls of the spirits, where wealth and death were inseparable. The elders warned, "He who enters for gold shall leave only as a spirit." When the first conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, they were searching for the gold of Cibola, the mythical cities of wealth. One detachment, it is said, vanished in the mountains completely. They were found only months later, bloodless bodies, rusted weapons, and beside the skeletons lay stones that glistened in the sunlight like gold. But none of the survivors ever dared to pick them up again. Centuries passed. In the 19th century, new fortune seekers came: American prospectors, adventurers, fugitives. Among them was a mysterious man named Jacob Waltz, nicknamed the Dutchman, though in truth he was German. He claimed to have discovered a rich gold vein in Superstition Mountain. No one knew if it was true or just a tale. But his stories stirred the imagination. Waltz would return to town with small sacks of gold nuggets, only to vanish again into the mountains. On his deathbed in 1891, delirious and feverish, he whispered strange words: "Where the rock looks like a sleeping monk, there a stream flows, and the shadow points the way." Thus appeared the first fragmentary maps of the cursed treasure. From that moment, an endless stream of treasure hunters began. It was a real flood of seekers. All sorts went into the mountains: former soldiers, farmers, drifters, even entire expeditions. Some were found dead, with empty hands and eyes wide open in terror. Others disappeared forever, as if dissolved into the scorching desert air. Sometimes a rare few returned alive, but they were insane. Their speech incoherent, raving about caves that closed by themselves, voices beneath the ground, figures that watched them in the night. In the evenings, when the sun sank beyond the horizon, a strange mist often rose above the mountains. It was unlike any ordinary fog. It moved against the wind, swirled at the foot of the cliffs, and sometimes formed the shapes of human figures. The old-timers whispered, these were the souls of those who died in search of gold. Restless, they now guarded the entrance to the underworld. And some swore they had seen the Dutchman himself, a tall figure in an old-fashioned hat, standing on a ridge, vanishing the moment anyone tried to approach. At the beginning of the 20th century, 3 young prospectors from Texas decided to test their luck. They had a copy of a map marked with mysterious signs, supposedly left by Waltz. They were young, strong, and didn't believe in curses. "Superstition is for fools," said the eldest of them, and they set out. A week later, they were found at the foot of the mountain. 2 lay dead, without a single wound. The third was alive but insane. He screamed that, the stones moved, and that the trail led us in circles, again and again. He died a few days later, never regaining his senses. From that moment on, Superstition Mountain gained its dark reputation, a place where gold lured, but death always walked beside it. It seemed that death at the foot of the mountain did not frighten people away but, on the contrary, lured them in. Every news story about missing prospectors, every newspaper article only fueled the fascination. By the early 20th century, Superstition Mountain had turned into a true mecca for treasure hunters. Some came with homemade maps, others with mysterious tales supposedly heard from Waltz's friends. The nearby towns, Florence, Mesa, and especially the small Phoenix, often welcomed strange visitors, ragged adventurers, armed to the teeth, yet with a mad gleam in their eyes. In 1910, brothers John and William Brodie entered the mountains. They claimed to have inherited from their father an authentic map to the Dutchman's vein. They were last seen at the market in Mesa, buying camel skins for water and crates of supplies. 2 months later, local Indians found their camp. Everything was untouched, the tent stood, the fire had long since burned out, supplies were neatly stacked. But the brothers were gone. No signs of struggle, no blood, not even footprints leading away. As if the earth itself swallowed them, said the Indian hunter who first discovered the site. From then on, that place was called the Valley of the Vanished. In the 1920s, Dutchman's gold maps became a real business. On the dark streets of Phoenix, one could buy secret charts for a few dollars. Each map promised that it alone was genuine. But strange things happened to their owners. Some died under mysterious circumstances, one was found dead from a snake bite, another shot by unknown assailants. A third claimed his map simply vanished, he swore he had placed it in his backpack, but when he opened it, there was nothing but dust. Locals said the map chose its own master, and that gold was never given freely. One particular tale is about a man named Edward Sands. He was a schoolteacher in Phoenix, quiet and thoughtful. But his life changed the moment he came across an old, battered journal in which, allegedly, Waltz himself had described the road to the treasure. Sands quit his job and spent his days studying the notes. He drew diagrams, compared the lines of hills, marked key stones. Neighbors said they saw him talking to himself, as if he heard a voice guiding him. In 1932, he went into the mountains and never returned. 3 months later, a shepherd found his body. Sands lay at the foot of a great cliff, his eyes open, his hands clenched as if trying to hold something invisible. The journal was gone. By then, Superstition Mountain already had a sinister reputation. The local Apache only smirked, "We warned you. The mountain takes those who seek gold." The elders told that deep within the mountain was an entrance to the house of the underground people. These spirits jealously guarded their wealth, and any outsider who came close signed his own death warrant. Rumors intensified in the 1940s, when soldiers conducting exercises nearby reported strange phenomena. Some swore they saw glowing lights flying over the mountains and vanishing without a sound. Others claimed that at dawn, human-like silhouettes appeared in the rocks, too sharp to be tricks of light. With every year, the stream of seekers did not dry up. On the contrary, the more deaths there were, the more people flocked to the place, convinced that they would be the lucky ones. By the 1950s, the first tourist groups appeared. Some searched for gold, others for thrills. But the mountain made no distinctions. In the summer of 1952, a group of 6 students went into the mountains. They planned to stay only a week, but never returned. Rescuers found only one survivor, staggering out onto the road. He could not speak, he only growled like an animal. The others were never found. This story fueled countless rumors, that the students had found a cave whose walls were lined with golden veins, but that guardians came for them. In the 1960s, stories again spread of people seeing a figure in a hat on the cliffs. It stood motionless, as if waiting, and disappeared the moment anyone tried to approach. Some swore it was Waltz himself, still guarding his gold even after death. Whoever entered Superstition Mountain, almost all spoke of strange mirages. In the scorching desert air, it was easy to see illusions, lakes that did not exist, silhouettes born of light and heat. But what people witnessed there went far beyond ordinary tricks of the eye. Soldiers guarding a nearby base in the 1970s swore that at night a glow would rise over the mountains, not fire, not moonlight, but a steady radiance, as if someone had lit bonfires in the very heart of the cliffs. Yet when they drew closer, everything vanished, leaving behind only the smell of ash and burning. Some prospectors said the mirages showed them visions of the future. One saw his own death in a canyon, another the face of a woman calling him by name, though he was utterly alone. Apache legends claimed that deep within the mountains lay a network of underground tunnels, leading to the lower world, the realm of spirits guarding their treasure. At the end of the 20th century, several researchers tried to find these passages. One of them, a geologist named Raymond Hale, ventured out in 1984 with a group of enthusiasts. They discovered a narrow crevice in the rock that led downward like an endless well. Deciding to descend, they secured ropes. Hale himself went first. His lantern vanished into the darkness, and soon came a scream. When his companions pulled the rope back, it was charred, as if passed through fire. Hale was gone without a trace. After that incident, a rockfall sealed the entrance, as though the mountain itself had closed it. In the 1990s, new witnesses appeared. Tourists camping at the foothills claimed that at night they heard sounds from the mountain, the clinking of pickaxes, the ring of metal, as if unseen miners still labored in the depths. Some swore they heard human voices, muffled, as if through tons of rock, impossible to make out. One night, a group of campers reported that figures approached their tents, men in 19th-century clothing. They said nothing, only stared, holding lanterns. When the tourists lit their own lamps, the figures vanished, leaving only the smell of sulfur. In 1997, a group of 3 treasure hunters decided to follow the classic route shown on old Dutchman maps. Their friends stayed behind, checking the camp every 3 days. On the 4th day, they found the camp untouched, backpacks neatly placed, the fire carefully put out, but the hunters were gone. In the sand were footprints leading toward the cliffs. There were 3, until, suddenly, there were 4. A 4th set of prints appeared among theirs, as if someone unseen was walking with them. Who was it? The tracks ended at the edge of a precipice. No bodies, no belongings were ever found. From that time on, the path was called the Trail of the Dead. In the 2000s came stories of the fiery guardians. Travelers claimed to have seen tall black figures with glowing red eyes. Imagine that, figures standing motionless on the cliffs, then dissolving like smoke. One climber swore he had captured them on film. Soon after, he fell to his death from a cliff. The camera was found nearby. The footage contained only static, but in the final frames, a faint silhouette could indeed be seen in the distance. Since then, many have believed that the mountain is inhabited not only by the spirits of dead prospectors but also by older entities, beings that were never human. Once, an old Apache told a researcher, "You think you're searching for gold? But gold is the trap. It is not for you, it is for the spirits. Every body is their offering. Every death feeds their power. When enough greedy hearts have perished, the mountain will open completely. And then, those who have waited will come forth." His words sounded like a prophecy. In the scorching deserts of Arizona, among canyons where the stones themselves echo ancient chants, stories spread of the mysterious deaths of treasure hunters. Those who sought the gold of the Apache, the silver mines of the Spanish, or the lost hordes of conquistadors rarely returned alive. They were found dead, burned, desiccated, or with twisted faces, as if they had glimpsed something the human mind could not endure. The Apache elders told of a guardian of the desert, a spirit called the Whispering Wind. Long ago, he had been a shaman who betrayed his people for the gold of the white men. For this, he was cursed, his body turned to sand, and his voice became an endless howl in the wind. Now he roamed the desert, jealously guarding treasures and punishing greed. At night, travelers claimed they could hear his breath in the canyons, a whistling murmur that froze the blood. To answer that call was to doom oneself. The whispering wind would enter the body, drying it from within until nothing remained but a shriveled husk. Others were found broken at the bottom of cliffs, though no tracks led to the edge. Some died of thirst with full flasks in hand, their lips cracked as though they had been drinking illusions. And when a black owl, the spirit's shadow, perched near a camp, no one lived to see dawn. The desert did not tolerate greed. Only those who respected the land, who left offerings to the wind and sought not gold but simply their way home, survived unharmed. If the canyon whispers to you at night, the old people warned, do not answer. Or you will never see the morning. The last man to challenge the desert was Ray Harper. For decades he had hunted legends of the Golden Cave of the Apache, gathering maps, fragments of diaries, and tales marked on stone crosses. Unlike others, he knew the story of the Whispering Wind. He carried not only weapons and water but also tobacco, carved stones, and a small coyote figurine given to him by an old Apache shaman. On the third night, Harper reached a canyon said to conceal the cave. The wind rose, whistling words in the dark. Give up your greed. Give up your life, Sitting by the fire, clutching the coyote figurine, Harper answered aloud. I did not come to steal. I came to ask. Show me the path, and I will leave empty-handed, The fire went out. Above him swept the black owl, its wings brushing the flames to ash. Harper felt his breath draining away, but he pressed the figurine to his chest and whispered. I seek no gold. I seek truth, Then the desert fell silent. From the darkness stepped a figure of sand and stone, its face shifting between conquistador, shaman, and faceless mask. Do you speak truth? The spirit thundered. Yes, Harper said. Why do you guard this land? The whispering wind drew close, his voice like distant thunder. I was a man. I betrayed my land for gold. Now I forever guard what I myself could not take. I am the punishment for the greedy, Harper bowed his head. He understood, the treasure was not real. It was only a mirage meant to lure the covetous. The true secret was that the desert was alive. He returned to town at dawn with no gold, only a story. People mocked him, but Harper smiled, for he knew he had survived not by strength, but by listening instead of taking. And ever after, the wind whispered less in fury and more in gratitude. Years passed, and Harper never sought treasure again. He opened a small shop at the foot of the Superstition Mountains, filled with old maps and books. Travelers came for stories, and he told them not of riches but of how the desert breathes, how the wind carries voices, and how easily men lose their souls to greed. But the memories of that night slowly faded. The face of sand grew vague, the words of the wind dissolved, as if the spirit itself willed them forgotten. When Harper died, nothing was found but blank maps and a single note scratched on the last page of his journal. Treasure is not gold. Treasure is the silence heard by those who stop searching. His shop was dismantled, and his name forgotten. Yet travelers swore they sometimes met an old man in a wide-brimmed hat who showed them the way when they were lost. He vanished when they thanked him. The wind then grew calm, carrying a faint echo of gratitude. But not all believed Harper was gone. Some said he had become part of the desert itself. In the mountains of superstition, a gray old man appears, sometimes saving wanderers, sometimes leading them to their deaths. Those who survived swore his eyes glimmered like shifting sand, and his voice was no longer human but the murmur of the wind. The elders whispered that the whispering wind had taken Harper into itself. He was no longer a man, but a shadow of the spirit, both guide and destroyer, testing the hearts of those who crossed the desert. The humble were spared, the greedy were devoured. At night, in the canyons, one can still hear the doubled whisper, not only of the ancient shaman but of Harper himself, woven into the breath of the desert: seek truth, not gold, or I will lead you where there is no return.